In 2010, British satirist Chris Morris released his first feature-length film, Four Lions, a dark comedy about 5 British Muslims from Sheffield who want to commit a terrorist attack. It became known, or as he called it, as Jihadi satire. Ever since September the 12th, 2001, the subject of Islamic terrorism was tricky for many comedians to tackle. Religion had long been a whipping boy of most alternative comedy, with the focus usually on the faiths that were most personally and culturally relevant, usually of the Christian denomination, especially Catholicism and Protestantism. But after 9/11, it became impossible for any comedian to ever mock Christianity without hearing the same whiny complaint from Christians, usually on the right. This whole issue is best summed up by this clip of Dara O'Brien. I'll let him explain.
The other reason I don't do jokes about religion, and this might be specific for right now and in this country, if you do the routines I used to do, like the Catholic and Protestant routine, or the the Lord's Prayer routine, those ones, all lovely routines, right? But if you do them now, you genuinely get members of the Christian right coming up to you after gigs or online and going, oh yeah, they love saying this, by the way, they love saying this. Oh, you'll make jokes about the Catholics. You'll make jokes about the Protestants. But you won't make jokes about the Muslims, will you? No, you're not that brave to make jokes about the Muslims, are you? No, not that brave, Mr. Comedian Man, to make jokes about the Muslims. Oh, the Christians, they're an easy target, but you won't make jokes about the Muslims, right? They fucking love that. To which I always say, there are 2 reasons I don't do jokes about Muslims. A, I don't know a fucking thing about Muslims. And B, neither do you. So frankly, it would be pointless. I could research and write the greatest Muslim-based material you've ever heard. Hey, what's up with the big golden horse that comes over the hill once a year and hands out cake to the kids? What's that all about? And you'd all be there going, is that a thing? I've never heard of that. Is that a thing? Oh, geez, you've really nailed the Muslims there, Dara. Well done, congratulations. By the way, apologies to any Muslims in the room who are now sitting there going, what golden horse? What the fuck is the man talking about?
The difficulty in writing comedy material about Islamic extremists was how to do so in a way that did not feed into the general hatred and fear of Muslims that was and had become a standard and accepted part of right-wing media and far-right political organisations like the BNP, the EDL and UKIP. Four Lions not only succeeded in doing this, but it actually managed to offend and get a lot of critics from people on the far right, because it chose to present the story and the characters in a nuanced and humanised way. This was not about demonising Islam, and it was not about making terrorists look like monsters. It did what all great comedies should do, make the subjects look ridiculous, and, well, comical. But Four Lions didn't achieve this by telling a completely ridiculous, over-the-top slapstick story that was detached from reality. In fact, it told a story that was closer to reality than many of us might think. In 2008, an email was sent out by Warp Films, which was producing Four Lions, as part of a crowdfunding campaign in order to get money to finance the film. The second paragraph of the email gives us an insight into the level of research detail and in fact the motivation behind the film and its characters. In 3 years of research, Chris Morris has spoken to terrorism experts, imams, police, secret services and hundreds of Muslims. Even those who've trained and fought jihad report the frequency of farce. At training camps, young jihadis argue about honey, cry for their mums, shoot off each other's feet, chase snakes and get thrown out for smoking. A minute into his martyrdom video, a would-be bomber looks puzzled and says, "What was the question again?" On Millennium Eve, 5 jihadis set out to ram a US warship. They slipped their boat onto the water and carefully stacked it with explosives. Unfortunately for them, it sank. Terrorist cells have the same group dynamics as stag parties and five-a-side football teams. There is conflict, friendship, misunderstanding and rivalry. Terrorism is about ideology, but it's also about Burks. The last point about terrorism being about Burks, for those who are not from Britain, Burks could be another word translated to idiots, is one that Morris has emphasised in multiple interviews since. In an interview with the New York Times, he said, "I wanted to understand what was going on. Once I started reading, I found things that just made me laugh. There were the would-be terrorists who set up a training camp in the woods, but slept in their van because they were afraid of mice. Recordings by the MI5 security service of a London cell turned up reams of rubbish dialogue, like debates about who was cooler, Bin Laden or Johnny Depp, and puzzled questions about the exact purpose of all that fertiliser they had purchased. These guys were behaving like Keystone Cops," Morris said. Citing a ruse in which one radical impersonated a British secret agent, Mr. Morris also encountered what he described as an unwitting sitcom-style humour in some of his conversations with extremists. One man told him that the world should be run under an Islamic caliphate. When asked about imposing Sharia law in his own house, the man replied, "My wife won't let me." This reminded me very much of the very first chapter of the book Them by John Ronson, in which he spends various times with different types of radical extremists all over the political spectrum. But in the first chapter, he hangs out with Islamic extremist Omar Bakri Mohammed and ended up going on a fishing trip with him, and discovered that Omar, the so-called scary Islamic Jihadi terrorist, is too scared to hold a fish because of how slimy it was. By focusing on the sheer incompetence of the British Jihadi, the film not only presents these characters in their most realistic and hilarious way, but also in their most relatable. I mean, try and imagine if you and any four of your mates were tasked with trying to pull off some kind of terrorist attack or a suicide bombing. How well do you think that would go? For me, one of the most overarching themes of the whole film is about inconsistency, hypocrisy, double standards within both the characters, and how our perception of them versus the reality is completely and utterly distorted. This point is best demonstrated by an aspect of the film that you probably haven't even noticed, even if you've watched it several times. At no point in the film do you see any of the main characters, all of whom are Islamic extremists, doing anything that you would automatically associate or assume would be involved in the life, day-to-day living of a Muslim. You never see them praying, or even mentioning the act of prayer. They never go to mosque. In fact, at one point, Barry tells Hassan that he shouldn't ever go to mosque, and later even argues in favour of bombing one. None of them ever quote or reference the Quran, and at one point we learn that one of the characters, Waj, has never even read it, but he has read A Cat Goes to Mecca, a book intended for children. When looking at the five main characters, they can be divided up into two groups. At the bottom there is Waj, Faisal and Hassan, and Omar and Barry at the top. Waj, Faisal and Hassan represent the characteristics of those who become cult members very easily. They are easily manipulated, easily led, naive and stupid. They are lost souls. They are in need of someone to lead them, to show them and tell them what to do, because they can't work it out on their own. They don't have the confidence. Hassan is the least stupid of the three, which really isn't much of a compliment when looking at the other two. He's recruited by Barry whilst the others are away in Pakistan.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah. I'm a mujahideen and I'm making a scene. Now you're gonna feel what the boom boom means. It's like Tupac said, when I die I am not dead. We are the martyrs, you're just smashed tomatoes. Allahu Akbar!
Yo, you're a ledge. You're a ledge,
Not
bro.
so bad yourself, brother.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Hassan Malik. The Mal.
The Mal.
Yeah.
Nice little stump back there.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You're a total piece of shit, mate. You're worse than the specially trained rapists they use in Guantanamo.
You what?
Yeah, you're not ignorant like them. You know you should be doing something.
Well, I am doing something.
Oh, what that? I'm the mujahideen and thingy rap. Huh?
It was jihad of the mind. The gesture that messed you.
Was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about gestures? Did he smash the pagan statues, or did he just stand there making a gesture? Is this a gesture? That was for real, brother.
Hassan's weakness is that he has a very romantic perception of what it is to be an extremist, much in the same way that some people would have about being a mafioso boss or some sort of gangster rapper. He has no real understanding of exactly what he's getting into or what he's going to be doing. This is why at the end of the film he is the first one to crack under the pressure of the realisation of what he is about to do. That is before Barry detonates his bomb for him.
So we got no number.
Hey! What's he got? What the fuck has he got? Shit!
What the fuck's he doing?
Help! Help! I'm accidentally a suicide bomber! Stop! I've got a bomb!
He's bottled it.
No, maybe it's just the costume, the legs, the hands go up.
I've got a bomb, but it's a mistake!
No, he said he's got a bomb.
You've got a bomb? Yeah, but I'm not a bomber!
Don't worry.
This is a fucking bad prank, mate! No, I'm real! But not anymore! You're real, but not anymore! I don't understand! Have you got a bomb? Yes, but it's not gonna go off! How do I know that? Look!
Faisal is a very timid and shy character, but he's also got the very dangerous combination of being utterly clueless but also desperate to prove himself, which leads to him doing multiple incredibly stupid and incredibly dangerous things, such as attaching bombs to a crow which he then trains to try and fly into a sex shop. His ineptitude leads to him making an early exit from the film, when he accidentally blows himself up running through a field carrying 2 bags of explosives.
Over the wall, Faisal!
Get him faster, bro!
You're not too fast!
This leads to an hilarious scene with the other 4 arguing over whether or not this could be classified as martyrdom.
He disrupted the infrastructure.
How did he do that?
He took out a sheep. Magnificently, took it right out.
Did he?
He attacked the food supply.
Some of it's in there with him.
What?
I couldn't separate it.
So what is he, lads? Is he a martyr or is he a fucking jalfrezi?
Waj is the most sympathetic out of all the characters. At one point it's even implied that he could have some sort of learning difficulty or special needs. He's also Omar's cousin and doesn't do anything unless Omar says so. Waj can't even be certain of his own feelings or what he thinks of something without consulting Omar first. Omar is so dependent on Waj going along with him and being there as some kind of support that just as they are preparing to bomb the London Marathon, Omar tricks a reluctant Waj into going through with the suicide bombing.
It's wrong, Waj, don't do it.
And what's your brain say?
We're here, together, strapped up, and it'll be like, well, pathetic to cop out now.
Right.
So he should listen to his brain.
No, he's got to listen to his heart, Barry. Right, no, this is Waj's brain we're talking about. Since when do we listen to Waj's brain? Right? Sorry, bro. But
I agree, I'm thick as fudge.
His brain says do it, so his brain's got to be right.
that can't be his brain, right? That's his heart, Barry.
Feels like my brain, brother.
Okay, listen, this is what's happened. What's happened is Shaitan has confused you. You swapped around your brain and your heart. So, don't listen to what you think is your heart, because that's actually your brain. It's in disguise as your heart.
A trick that tragically backfires later on when Omar tries to talk him out of it.
Omar?
Watch!
Tell me what to do, bro. I think I might be confused, but I'm not sure.
Listen, bro. You do what I do, right? You do same as me, okay?
Yes, brother, I'll do the same as you.
Right, okay. I'm gonna give myself up, bro.
Eh?
I'm gonna give myself up, bro. Watch! Watch!
Despite his immense stupidity, Wadji's last words are the only honest and sincere moment in the entire film between the 5 characters.
I'm sorry, lads. I don't really know what I'm doing.
It's never known for sure whether or not Wadji's bomb went off accidentally or on purpose, but as we learn in the closing credits,
crystal clear that the police shot the right man, but as far as I'm aware, the wrong man exploded.
the most interesting dynamic in the relationship between the 5 main characters is between Omar and Barry. Barry is the only white member of the group and the only one who converted to Islam. He is the loudest, the most aggressive, the angriest, and the most sadistic. The decision to depict Barry as a white convert is probably the most intelligent stroke of genius throughout the entire film. It reminds the audience that extremism and terrorism is not an issue that can be turned into one of race and culture. But it also shows the stark similarities between radical Islamists and far-right white nationalists. There are several clues within the film that suggest prior to converting to Islam, Barry was a member of, or at least an avid supporter of, far-right fascist / neo-Nazi white supremacist groups or just ideology, such as his use of racial slurs even when referring to other Muslims.
We need a training camp anyway, we're primed. We don't need some tramp up a mountain telling us to set a fuse. We don't need some packy stepdad telling us when to go.
Or his very clear anti-Semitism.
Fuck it!
Did you fix this then, Barry?
Yes, I fixed it!
Did you?
The parts are Jewish.
Or this scene when he's putting nails in a bomb and labelling which one would be killing which different type of group.
Come on, bro. Give me that.
Gay. Fed.
Go on, man.
Sodomite. Gynecologist. Innocent bloke. Doesn't exist.
With this in mind, it's fair to assume that Barry has always, and always would be, this kind of person that we see in the film. He wasn't someone who was made violent through religion. He simply found an ideology to try and suit his personality. Barry is the epitome of an insecure, self-loathing, wannabe alpha male. Everything he says and does comes from his own desperation and need to be seen as superior, or at the very least to be seen as accepted and taken seriously. Whilst the insecurities run much deeper than the film shows, there's no doubt that being both white and a convert to Islam are the two things that fuel his feelings of inadequacy and need to be taken seriously more than anything. This is why he constantly overcompensates within everything he says and does.
You realise if I don't come with you to Pakistan, bro, Islam is finished.
Listen, I am the most Al-Qaeda one here. My unit stays here, but my unit's the main unit. I am the invisible Jihadi. They seek him here, they seek him there, but he's not there. He's blowing up your slag sister. You're surprised kids are going off to training camps?
That is not what I
So
have said.
why are kids going off to training camps?
Right, well, first off, I object to the term training camps.
You just used it.
No, I did not. It's a Western fantasy. You people think of Muslims running around the mountains with guns and bombs. Yeah, that'd suit you down to the ground, wouldn't it?
But they do exist, don't they?
I'm not saying they don't exist. What I'm saying is, if you'll listen, is that if they didn't exist, you people would have to invent them.
Barry really wants to be the group's leader. He is desperate for the respect and blind loyalty it would receive. But he'll never get it because he's only interested in inflating his own ego. He isn't a natural leader, which is why he resents Omar. Omar is the, for want of a better term, heart and soul of everything Four Lions is about. He is also a very disturbing reminder of the true dangers of a radicalised mind. Omar is the most relatable and realistic character within the film. Not that the others are unrealistic, they are, in their own way, quite real. However, Omar is the only one whose life outside of the group is fleshed out in any real detail, probably because he's the only one who has a life outside of the group. He has a wife, He has a young son, a house, and a full-time job. The tragedy of this is made more by the fact that he is obviously in a very happy relationship, a very loving and content home life. His wife and son are not unaware of his plans to commit a terrorist attack. In fact, they are fully aware and supportive of him. His son looks up to his dad as a hero because of it. In one of the most endearing and yet equally disturbing scenes in the film, Omar tries to justify and rationalise his actions to his son by using the Lion King as a metaphor.
Right, so, Simba and Pumbaa were out on their own when all of a sudden they saw this big evil bird, this big bird that Scar had sent out to look for him. This big evil vulture coming right at them. There it is, said Simba, he spotted it. It's a big evil vulture coming straight for him, coming right at them.
Then what, Dad?
Well, Simba had to bring it down, otherwise it'd kill him. So what he did was he grabbed a stone and he chucked it at the bird, only he chucked it so hard, it was such a strong, powerful throw that his arm went all the way around, like behind. He threw it so hard, it went a mile behind him. And it hit Mufasa. Wise, strong Mufasa, Simba's dad, hit him accidentally on the head and killed him.
But didn't Scar kill Mufasa?
Yeah, in the film, this is real life I'm talking about. So Simba had a choice. He could either tell all his friends what had happened and create confusion, or he could keep it a secret and lead all his friends in a big fight against Scar. What do you think he did?
His son, who is cursed with the innocence and naivety of youth, responds by saying,
He had to tell the truth.
Before Omar explains why the truth doesn't matter if the lie gets you the result you want.
But he's got to fight Scar, doesn't he? Telling the truth means giving up. Would Simba give up?
Simba would never give up.
Exactly. Exactly, so Simba kept it all a secret. And he led Pumbaa and Timon and all his friends. He led them all in a fight against Scar.
And at no point does he question why, if this is the truth, why would you have to lie in the first place? Apart from his intelligence, competence and all-round common sense, the thing that separates Omar from the others in the group is he is the only one who takes this mission seriously. He's the only one who is dedicated to it, and as we see for a brief moment in the film, he has his reasons and motivations.
We have instructions to bring havoc to this bullshit, consumerist, godless, packy bashing, Gordon Ramsay, taste the different specialty cheddar, torture endorsing, massacre sponsoring, look at me dancing, piss with me knob out, Sky One uncovered, who gives a fuck about dead Afghanis Disneyland?
Mashallah, brother Omar.
Omar spends the majority of the film clearing up the others' mess and chastising them for their own stupidity. And whilst he comes off as the only responsible one in the group, this perception is only relative compared to the incompetence and irresponsibility of the others. The truth is that Omar is as useless and lost as the rest of them. He is the last of the group to finally take his own life at the end of the film, and he's the only one who we know made the decision to blow himself up. But this wasn't made out of a desire to be a religious martyr. It was clearly out of the desperation as he realises the police are about to close in and capture him, and he doesn't want to be seen as a coward in the eyes of his son. And he just doesn't also, as petty as this might seem, want the embarrassment. Before he does this, he tells a friend who's nearby, "Tell them I was smiling," as he struggles to put on a fake grin. He then wanders slowly into Boots before exploding.
Omar.
The irony of this being that bombing Boots was an idea earlier had been suggested by Faisal, because
let's bomb Boots. They sell condoms that make you want to bang white girls.
I second that, Boots.
Right.
They nabbed me nicking links display.
When Chris Morris said terrorism is about ideology, but mostly it's about Burkes, the second part is not just referring to the terrorists themselves, it refers to everyone in the entire film. The main characters might be incompetent fools, but so are all of those tasked with trying to stop them. From the sniper who accidentally shoots the wrong marathon runner in a costume, which leads to the police then having a debate over their radios as to whether or not the honey monster is or is not a bear. The amateur negotiator, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who is doing this clearly for the first time and is so bad at his job he can't even manipulate or get into the mind of Wadge to come out and surrender. But mostly this is evident in the anti-terrorist unit of the British law enforcement. The night prior to the marathon, we are shown what looks to be a raid by police who have been watching the group and are closing in to arrest them. Instead, they burst into and arrest a group of Muslims, including Omar's brother, who have nothing to do with any terrorist plot and never have done, but who do happen to look just like the kind of Muslims who probably would, thus emphasising the dangerous consequences of our own bigotry and Islamophobia. Four Lions is a masterclass in how to take a sensitive and complicated issue and satirise it almost perfectly. One of the most shocking things about the film is how unshocking and offensive it was, and how it was perceived. Morris has been asked several times whether he feared any backlash for the film, to which he usually replies something to this effect.
It may seem slightly unself-preserving, but I didn't. I think it was by the time we were making the film, it sort of took 3 years to research and write it, so I knew, I'd spoken to about 200 Muslims by then, and I kind of had a sense that if you made a film in which you sort of showed people urinating on the Quran for a laugh, you might upset all kinds of Muslims, some of whom might be violent. But if you make a film about bombers being just on the edge of not being very clever, you're not really going against anything in the Quran, so you're less likely to incur a fatwa against you. I mean, that is a religious ruling that says you're not a very good person. I think what you have to do is if you want one, my advice to you is to just go straight for the Holy of Holies. Either say something appalling about Muhammad, or go straight for the heart of it and say something terrible about God. Then you will, I think, probably get yourself in some trouble.
The most common criticism that is thrown at the film is that it fails to explain what leads people to end up in the positions of Omar, Faisal, Barry, Wadge and Hassan. This stems from the fact that we are given almost no background to any of the main characters. The film starts and ends like a moment in time, but at no point do we get anything that tells us why. To me, this criticism is to completely miss the point of the film entirely. And it's ridiculous for anyone to expect a film to be able to answer a question that almost no politician could do. Four Lions isn't about why terrorism happens. It's about how it happens and who the people behind it are. Who are they? Their fathers, cousins, brothers, husbands, work colleagues? They're lost, they're angry, they're confused. They're just like you and me. And it's that which makes them both scary and stupid, all at the same time. Thank you.
أرسلتها عبر الظلام قذيفة في وجهي تأبى هوانت التي أرسلتها عبر الظلام قذيفة في وجهي تأبى هوانت التي ولعلها سقطت حديثة